Hey, this is Ebony, aka Miss E, your serial problem solver, and I'm sitting here with Kendra. As you know, that's our first and only special guest today, and we're going to be talking about home ownership and the NACA program. I want to take this opportunity to introduce Kendra, or allow Kendra to introduce herself. Kendra, introduce yourself to the listeners.
Hello, my name is Kendra. I purchased my first home through NACA, and I am so glad I did it. I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family home with a 1.6 interest rate. I was so happy to fire my landlord. I'm actually paying $500 less than what I was paying for in rent. I couldn't do that without NACA. NACA program is phenomenal.
Nice. So tell us a little bit, Kendra, about how you learned about NACA.
I learned about NACA through a friend who, they started the process. They went through the process, and their house, I'm like, oh my God, this house is so nice. I'm looking at them like, how you able to afford that house? And they told me about this program, NACA, and I said, okay, let me jump on that program. And I started the process 3 years ago. At that time, I was not prepared for NACA. NACA will definitely prepare you for home ownership. And I had to take probably about 1.5 years off to kind of get myself together, get my finances in order. And I came back strong with everything that I learned through NACA, and got my house within 3 months.
Nice. So as you all heard, Kendra used a NACA program to actually help her finance her new home ownership opportunity. Kendra is an African-American female. She's doing very well, single mom, and she wasn't even really thinking about home ownership years ago. But what made you change your mind, Kendra? What made you decide to fire your landlord?
When I realized how much I was paying in rent, and when I went, going through webinars with NACA and seeing how much that I can actually save, I had no other choice but to go through that process. It'll challenge you, but it's worth it. And the fact that I'm able to save so much, and I feel like the NACA program, it changed me mentally, my outlook on my finances, better ways to save. And that's what I like about the program. Not only it gives you the opportunity to get into a good mortgage, but it also prepare you for home ownership, not just at the beginning, but just for the long term, how to manage your finances and being able to maintain your home.
Wow, that's awesome. As you know, NACA is a gem. It's a hidden gem in the mortgage community and the African American community. It seems like no one's actually talking about a program like NACA. Everybody's talking about FHA, but nobody's actually talking about a program that can actually help you finance your future and build your legacy. So Kendra, could you tell people a little bit about some of the supports that NACA has in place, for instance, with down payments and other perks that the program has to offer?
Yeah. So NACA, they give you a low down payment, no PMI. Everybody gets a low interest rate. Your interest rate starts out with 3.0 interest rate, but you have the option to buy down your interest rate, which that's something that I did. One thing about NACA, I always say that they tricked me, but it helped me. They had me saving money every month, I guess, to go towards my down payment. And only to find out at closing costs, they put that money in the escrow account for me. So that way, I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. Because the program is just so good that, if I ever lose my house or anything happens, I have money that NACA will support me. And that's one thing about NACA that other programs, they don't do for you. They don't support you at closing. And I know that if anything happens, NACA got my back. The counselors were good. And, I know a lot of people, they like to do outside outside realtors, but I highly suggest that you use a NACA realtor, because it makes the process so much easier to go through the process with using a NACA realtor.
So one of the gyms, wow, that is amazing. NACA actually helps with down payment assistance. They are actually taking you through training programs. They're helping you with budgeting. They're teaching you about home ownership. They had lawyers in place during the whole home buying process. They had their inspectors in place. Let's talk about some of that process, Kendra.
Yeah, so NACA, you cannot close on a NACA home unless that home is deemed safe by NACA inspectors. There's no, okay, let me give the inspector a couple $100 to kind of, they say that this, no, NACA, and the good thing about NACA is you can only use NACA inspectors because they know what they're looking for in NACA homes. And you can't close that home until the hands department, which is a department that certified the home to be cleared, you can't close that home until it's deemed safe. And the seller has to make those repairs in order for you to close on that home. And that's one thing I like about NACA is they're supporting you. And you're not just jumping into something and then, something happens down the years later, with the house. And NACA makes sure that they put preventive measures in place so that way you don't have to run into those problems years later.
Nice. And as you heard Kendra speak on before, she has money in escrow that NACA actually helped her to save over time so that if anything happens, whether it's with her employer, whether it's with her financial stability, they will be there to back her. And that's an amazing perk that a lot of people in the African American community does not know about. And this is not just for African Americans, but this is for everyone. But the reason why I'm speaking to the African American community, because right now, historically, we are at the lowest point of home ownership that we've ever been. Even when they were preventing us back in the day from buying homes, redlining our neighborhoods, we are actually building that legacy. Kendra has a son who you hear in the background who is excited about his new home, has his own room, so much space and spaces for him to be able to run, and being able to have so much land, so much yard area, nice quiet neighborhood. And she actually did it through the supports of the NACA program. For those of you that I've sent the link to www.naca.com and I told you to sign up for those programs, I'm telling you, I know somebody who is sitting right here in the flesh who actually benefited from the program. For all of you that thought it was a fluke, I'm telling you, you're missing out every day that you're not prepared. You are missing out on building your dream and your legacy. Kendra, if you could advise people 3 things in order to prepare for home ownership that NACA actually advised you to have, what would those 3 things be?
The 3 things that I would advise, someone to do is to actually be prepared mentally. If this is something that you want, you got to prepare yourself not to give up, because NACA will challenge you. They're going to test you to make sure that you're ready for this. I want to make sure that this is something that you really want to do. The second thing is follow your action plan. Those plans are in place to benefit you. If they're giving you some things and tips to follow, make sure that you follow it and do it NACA way. Don't do things your way. Do it NACA way. There's a reason why they have you saving, 10% of your monthly payments, because they want to make sure that you're able to afford it. They're saying that you need to cut out on, eating out or something. Do it, because there's a reason that's going to benefit you. If they're giving you resources to food banks or, other ways that you can make things work, follow those resources. And then one more thing that I can suggest with NACA is to just believe in the process. You have to trust that this process is going to work. If you do what you need to do, it's possible. It's possible for anybody that go through this program. You just have to prepare yourself to go through it.
You heard it first from a NACA survivor, from a NACA accomplished person, Kendra Nicholson. She said it. She said, you have to mentally prepare yourself for this process. That means you also need to financially prepare for this process, because guess what? NACA actually advises you to save 10% per month of what you would be paying in your mortgage payment every month. So you have to be ready. And she wants to also give you another tip.
Yeah, and NACA's not going to put you on a home that you know, okay, I want a house with a $2,000 mortgage and you're only making $40,000 a year. You're not going to get into that house, because here's the thing. They put you in that house and, you know, a year later you can't afford that house. So they're going to make sure they're going to match your income with the house you can afford. So, you know, that's another tip that I can think, because I think that some people, they have this expectation that I just want this, you know, $300,000 house, when there's houses that's actually affordable for you, that's nice, and that can be within your budget. And that's the thing about NACA. It prepares you to stay within your budget. So that way you can stay in your home and stop, you know, getting a house that you possibly can't afford down the road.
See, now Kendra's telling you, mentally, financially, and holistically prepare, because don't be biting off more than you can chew, because you might get your feelings hurt. She did it. You know, you have to be prepared. So one other thing that you want to make sure of, we want to make sure we avoid those overdraft fees, because guess what? If you're overdrawn, it's going to delay your process. NACA only works if you work, just like anything else in your life. You can't stay home from work and expect to get paid. So you can't expect for NACA to give you a home if you don't have your paperwork in order. You know, so get ready for tax season so you can have those tax returns ready. Kendra, if you could tell people 3 things on the list that's really important. I'm sure there's many more, but give them 3 really crucially important documents that they need to close on their home.
Them overdraft fees, you cannot. That's really important, because, you know, you can't finance a home, or you can't be in your mortgage living off of overdraft. And that's a main thing out of NACA. You know, your spending habits. You want to make sure you're not eating out everything. I know when I started the process, that was something a problem that I had, where I was spending a lot of money eating out, and NACA made me realize, listen, you're spending about $400 eating out. Let's figure out ways that you can kind of save or cut back. You know, make sure that you prepare yourself to cut back on those expenses. And then other thing that I can suggest too, as far as like your job and everything, make sure you have some sort of stable income. You know, don't kind of be like all over places with jobs and everything. Make sure that the job that you're with is a stable job.
Nice. And for those of you that are listening that are like, oh, well, I don't have any fancy job or profession, Kendra, what would you say to that?
That's definitely not true. Like I stated earlier, NACA put you in a house that you can afford. I mean, I've seen people that's actually in the program when their mortgage is probably like $400, if not less. So they're going to put you into a mortgage that you can afford. You know, and that's, like I said like earlier, people wants to be in homes that they can't afford. You know, 3 documents that I can recommend that you need to have to be prepared for NACA. You want to make sure that you have your tax returns. You want to make sure that you're actually filing your taxes. You want to make sure you have your bank statements in order. You also wanted to make sure that as far as like your employment, you know, you have steady employment and you've been at that job, you know, for a year or if not more than that. Those are some 3 tips that I can suggest that you have to actually get started with the NACA process. And another thing is, you know, that we all rent, but, you know, most people rent. You want to make sure that you're paying your rent, because if you're not paying your rent, you know, NACA going to be questioning you, can you actually pay a mortgage? So that's really important as well.
You heard it first. The reason why I wanted to make sure that we came on and actually discuss the NACA program is because I feel like this program is like a hidden gem in so many different communities, but especially the Black communities. Everybody wants to be the token person who's actually benefited and prospered and was succeeded with this program, but no one wants to actually pass the information on. So you heard it. NACA actually helped Kendra to get in her single family home as a single mother, raising her child, creating a legacy, you need to understand this. You cannot pass down a lease to your child forever. But what you can pass on is a owned home. A home that you purchased to build your legacy for your children, for your child, for your husband, for your wife. Something that you can leave for your future. Other things that you want to make sure you have in place is some insurance, some life insurance. Too many people dying out here that are not covered, leaving their kids orphaned and leaving them broke. Make sure that you have those pertinent things in place. You heard it first. This is Ebony signing off. Miss E, your serial problem solver. You have an amazing day on purpose. God bless.